The sun was not normal that year. It was brighter, hotter, angry. People called it the Red Summer. In June, temperatures reached 50 degrees Celsius. In July, it touched 60. Cities like Dubai, Delhi, and Dallas became ovens. Streets cracked, rivers dried, planes couldn't fly, power grids failed. People started dying. Hospitals were full. Fans and air conditioners stopped working. Rich people went underground. Poor people stayed outside and burned. But not all of them. In a small town in Arizona, a 16-year-old boy named Kieran stood under the sun without shade. His skin didn't burn. He didn't sweat. His heart beat slow like he was sleeping. A reporter saw him and took a photo. That photo went viral. They called him the Fireproof Boy. At first, people thought it was fake. But then, others started coming forward. A woman in Africa, a farmer in Mexico, a soldier in Pakistan, a kid in Japan. All of them were the same. No heat stroke, no sickness, no fear. Scientists were confused. Doctors ran tests. Blood samples showed strange cells that healed fast, cells that didn't break under heat. Some called it a mutation. Others said it was evolution. But one man whispered something different. This isn't new. This is old tech. No one listened. Far above Earth in the black sky, a watching eye opened. A satellite, not human, not from Earth, zoomed in on the Fireproof Boy. Inside a large alien ship orbiting Earth, a group of beings stood around a glowing screen. They were not like this before, said one. The humans were weak, said another. What changed? Asked the leader. Silence. Then one word appeared on the screen. EMBRBORN. The aliens froze. This word was from the old war. A secret file. It was marked. Top threat. Do not engage. The aliens had come to Earth 300 years ago. They had fought humans before. Quick war, easy win. Or so they thought. What they didn't know was that humans had been building something dangerous in secret, an experiment called Project Emberborn. It was shut down, buried, lost, forgotten. Until now. Back on Earth, Kieran felt strange. He didn't know what was happening inside his body. He didn't feel hungry. He didn't sleep much. His eyes glowed slightly in the dark. And sometimes, when he got angry, the air around him got hotter. His father, an old soldier, knew something. He took Kieran to the desert and showed him a locked steel box. This, he said, belonged to your grandfather. Inside the box, old papers, strange pills, and a card that said, Emberborn Unit Number 117, activated in case of planetary threat. Kieran didn't understand. The desert wind howled. The sky was turning red again. That night, strange lights were seen in the sky. Some said they were drones. Others believed they were ships. In secret, alien scouts landed on Earth, collecting data, watching humans. Their report was short. Humans are changing. Some cannot be harmed by heat. A protocol from the old war has reawakened. We recommend observation only. Do not provoke. Do not attack. Do not fear yet. But one younger alien didn't listen. He flew low. He came close. He tried to touch Kieran's skin with a scanner. The scanner melted, and the alien's hand burned. He screamed and ran. His ship took off quickly, leaving a trail of smoke in the sky. Kieran just stood there, calm and quiet. He didn't mean to hurt anyone. But something inside him was waking up. He looked at the setting sun, and for the first time in his life, it didn't look big. It looked small, long ago, before humans had space travel, before the internet, before even the First World War. Something dangerous was created deep underground. It was never spoken about. Until now. After the heat wave, people around the world started asking questions. Why are some humans immune to heat? Why is the government silent? Why are satellites falling from the sky? In a small research lab in Iceland, an old scientist named Dr. Lena Rowe received a strange signal. It came from under the ice, from a place that should not exist. It was a bunker, locked for over 150 years. She followed the signal and found a metal door buried deep in the ice. It opened by itself when she touched it. Inside, red lights turned on. Machines started humming. A robotic voice spoke. "Welcome back. Project Emberborn. Status: partially active. Protocol 9 initiated." Dr. Lena was shocked. Emberborn? She had heard that word once before. In a classified file, long deleted from the global system. The bunker had old data. Video logs, experiments, names of people born in secret labs, children, teenagers, all created to survive extreme heat, cold, war, even radiation. These weren't soldiers, Lena whispered. They were weapons. Meanwhile, in Arizona, Hiram was changing. His body was hotter now, but not in a painful way. It felt like the sun was inside him. He could feel heat around him like a sense. He could tell when something was warm or when someone was lying. One day, he touched a dying plant. The plant stood up, alive. Something deep in his blood had awakened. At the same time, the Alien Council received a message from a hidden probe on Earth. It said, "The Emberborn are not dead. They are spreading. We do not understand them. We do not control them." This could be the return of Earth's true weapon. One alien, Commander Virex, decided to investigate personally. He disguised himself and landed on Earth in human form. He visited cities, deserts, and mountains. What he saw terrified him. In many places, heat-immune humans were gathering. They didn't talk much, but they all had the same look in their eyes. Calm, focused, quietly powerful. Back in Iceland, Dr. Lena unlocked more files. One was a video message from the year 2061. If you are watching this, the old man in the video said, "Then the planet is under threat." Emberborn was not a weapon to destroy, but a backup plan. In case humans could not survive. They were made to rebuild Earth. They carry the memory of fire. Lena didn't understand everything. But one thing was clear. Emberborn were not accidents. They were meant to be here. In an old war base in Siberia, something even more mysterious happened. A wall cracked open. Behind it, rows of glass tubes. Inside them, people sleeping. Not aging, not breathing, but alive. One of the tubes blinked. Unit number 1, Emberborn Prime, ready. The base started warming. Ice began melting around it. Satellites caught the heat signature and alerted both Earth governments and alien watchers. The alien commander Virex got the signal. He stared at the map. He knew what it meant. "This is no longer evolution," he said. "This is a countdown." Far away, Kieran stood alone in the desert. His father had gone silent after seeing the card marked Emberborn Unit number 117. Kieran whispered, "What am I?" But the wind had no answer. In the sky, clouds turned red. The air smelled like smoke. A storm was coming. And far below the Earth's crust, something ancient and powerful opened its eyes. The heatwave wasn't just a problem anymore. It was a warning. Around the world, heat levels continued to rise. The atmosphere itself seemed to be breaking down. Cities weren't just hot. They were frying, turning into barren wastelands. And yet something strange was happening. Kieran, the fireproof boy, wasn't the only one who had changed. The more he focused on the heat, the more he realized something deep inside him had unlocked. He wasn't just immune to heat. He could control it. He could feel the temperature around him like it was part of his own body. But it wasn't just him. Other humans, scattered across the planet, were starting to show the same abilities. People who could not only survive the heat, but could manipulate it. They were no longer just surviving. They were beginning to thrive in the world that was burning. Meanwhile, Commander Virex, The alien sent to observe Earth was getting desperate. His ship hovered in the upper atmosphere, his eyes glued to the screens. Data streams filled with terrifying information. The humans, they are becoming more than we anticipated, one of the alien officers said, trembling. They have unlocked something we cannot control. Virex clenched his fists. He knew what it meant. The Emberborn were waking up. And this time, they weren't just a weapon. They were the future of the planet. They were the ones who would rebuild Earth. They would not be the slaves of an alien empire. They would rise. But before Virex could think more, the message came. It was urgent. In a small field near the Arizona desert, Kieran stood still, staring at the sky. His hands burned with heat, but it didn't hurt him. A strange sensation tickled the back of his neck. Then, a ship. Not a human ship. This was different. A low hum filled the air. A massive shadow blocked the sun. The ship hovered silently above him, large enough to swallow a small city. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, and beneath it, a large hatch opened. Kieran didn't move. He didn't run. Inside the ship, the alien council waited. Virex stepped forward, his face cold and calculating. He spoke into the communications unit. "This is the final test. Approach the subject." The ship's doors opened wider, revealing a figure in a metallic suit. A human-like alien, but with features that were sharp and unnatural. The alien took slow steps toward Kieran. Kieran didn't speak, but he stared at the alien's cold, emotionless face. He could feel the heat building inside him, rising up like a storm. Then the alien spoke, his voice echoing in Kieran's mind. "You are not like them. You are different. Tell me, what are you?" Kieran didn't answer. The temperature around him began to rise. He was hot. Too hot. But it didn't hurt. It felt right. The alien reached out, extending a hand, a device in his palm. The device sent a pulse toward Kieran's body, trying to scan, trying to understand. Kieran closed his eyes, and in that moment, the world seemed to freeze. Back on the alien ship, the crew was watching closely. The leader of the alien council was growing impatient. "What is he doing?" the leader asked. "He's controlling the heat," another officer said, his voice trembling. "He's resisting our tech. It's not possible." But Kieran didn't seem to care about their technology. As the pulse continued, he focused, his hands outstretched, and the device began to melt. The alien took a step back, confused and afraid. "Impossible," the alien muttered. "You are too much, too powerful." Kieran opened his eyes, and the heat around him grew intense, causing the alien's armor to shimmer. The temperature around Kieran was so high that the air itself began to crackle and spark. For a moment, everything was silent. The alien, now sweating and trembling, stepped back again. He hadn't expected this. No one had. "You are no longer just human," the alien said, almost in awe. "You are a weapon." Back on Earth, news stations around the world started picking up strange signals. People reported seeing ships, strange lights, and some even felt the temperature shift around them. Cities had begun to panic. Governments went into lockdown. But for Kieran, the battle was just beginning. The alien's voice rang in his ears. "You are the future. The world will be destroyed by the heat. You were made to survive. But you must join us." Kieran's body pulsed with heat. He had no words. He wasn't sure what the alien wanted from him, but he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't trust them. With a single thought, Kieran pushed the alien back, sending a wave of heat so intense that the air itself cracked, and the alien's armor began to melt. The ship's doors slammed shut, and the ship ascended rapidly. It was gone. But Kieran wasn't finished. Not yet. He looked up at the sky, feeling the heat growing stronger by the day. He knew the aliens would be back, but next time they wouldn't be prepared for him. He wasn't just going to survive this world. He was going to change it. The world was changing. Fast, and nobody knew how to stop it. Kieran stood in the desert, staring at the sky. He had just faced the aliens, but something inside him told him this was only the beginning. The heat had risen again, higher than before, and it felt like the planet itself was fighting back. He didn't understand what had happened to him, why he was different, why the heat didn't hurt him. But the aliens knew. They had called him a weapon. He didn't want to be that. He didn't want to be anyone's tool. But he was beginning to realize that he might not have a choice. Meanwhile, far below the Earth's surface, in the icy tunnels of Antarctica, a secret facility hummed with life. The doors opened with a loud hiss as Dr. Lena Rowe walked inside. She had discovered the Emberborn protocol, but what she found now was far more terrifying than anything she had imagined. The hidden lab was alive with activity, but it wasn't human activity. It was something else. Machines clicked, whirred, and a soft mechanical voice echoed through the halls. Project Emberborn, Phase 5, activation complete. All units to be deployed. Prepare for global distribution. Lena's heart raced. She had found the heart of the secret. Emberborn wasn't just a project. It was a plan. Hundreds of glass tanks stood in rows, each one containing a human form. Some were young. Some were old. All were connected to tubes and wires. They were suspended in some kind of deep sleep, waiting for something. A blinking light on one of the tanks read, Unit Number 1, Emberborn Prime. Waking sequence initiated. Lena gasped. She had heard of Emberborn Prime. It was the first of them, the one that would lead the rest. Back in the Arizona desert, Kieran couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming. He had always been alone, but now he felt like the world was watching him. The heat was unbearable. But there was something else. He could feel it. The sun was hotter, the air was thicker. And the ground, it was burning. Suddenly, his phone rang. It was a message from his father. We need to talk. Come home. Now. In the depths of the alien ship, Commander Virex stood in front of a large screen, his eyes narrow with fear. The Emberborn are waking up too soon. We did not expect this. They should have been dormant, waiting for activation from us. But now they are acting on their own. A young officer approached the commander. His face was pale. Sir, we have a problem. The Emberborn are not responding to our calls. They are sending their own signals. They are no longer waiting for us to lead them. The commander clenched his fists. He had never expected Earth's experiments to grow this powerful. The humans were no longer helpless. They were becoming a threat. Prepare the fleet, Virex ordered. We will not let them take this planet from us. Back in the research lab in Antarctica, Lena's hands trembled as she scanned the old files. One of them was marked. The Ember Protocol. Activation after Heatwave. Phase Red. The Heatwave wasn't just a natural event. It had been triggered. The Emberborn were designed to withstand Earth's extremes, but they were also designed to lead, to rebuild. Lena found more hidden files. They spoke of Project Emberborn as a contingency plan created by world governments during a time of global crisis. The plan was simple. If Earth ever faced total destruction, the Emberborn would rise and take control, guiding humanity to survive. But the aliens, they had no idea. The Emberborn were never meant to be controlled. They were meant to be the leaders of a new world. Lena's eyes widened as she read the last part of the file. Protocol read, the activation of the Emberborn Prime. All other units will follow. The Earth will be reshaped by their power. Back in Arizona, Kieran stood outside his home, his mind racing. His father had been acting strange lately. Something wasn't right. Kieran had learned more than he ever wanted to know about his origins, but he didn't have the answers he needed. He needed his father. As he walked inside, his father was waiting for him. The old man looked tired, almost like he had aged 10 years in just a few days. Kieran, you're not just any human, his father said softly. You are Emberborn. You're the first generation. The beginning of what we were always meant to become. Kieran took a step back. What do you mean? What are you talking about? His father sighed, his eyes filled with regret. The Emberborn weren't created to save humanity. They were created to replace humanity. The world is dying, Kiran. You were made to lead, to survive, and to change the world in ways we cannot even imagine. Kiran's heart raced. He didn't want to believe it. He didn't want to be a part of this plan. But his father's words hit him like a storm. He had to make a choice. Would he accept his destiny? Would he become the leader of the Emberborn? Or would he try to stop what was coming, even if it meant fighting against everything he had ever known? The earth was on fire, not just from the heat wave, but from the truth. Kiran's heart raced as he listened to his father. The weight of his words hung in the air like smoke. Kiran had always thought of himself as ordinary, just another teenager trying to survive in a world full of problems. But now he knew the truth. He was Emberborn. He wasn't just another human. He was the beginning of a new era, a new species. But what did that mean? For him? For humanity? Days passed. The heat continued to rise, and more people began to feel the power of the Emberborn in their bodies. More humans were changing. More were awakening. But the world didn't know how to react. Governments tried to contain the spread of heat-resistant humans. They couldn't explain the phenomenon. They couldn't control it. And then, the aliens came. They came not as enemies, but as helpers. At least, that's what they said. In the sky, a massive ship descended. It was sleek, black, and gleaming. It didn't look like the ships they had seen before. This one was peaceful, almost inviting. Its smooth surface reflected the orange sky, making it look like a dark star. Kiran stood at the edge of the desert, watching as the ship touched down. His father was beside him, eyes filled with a strange mixture of fear and hope. "They've come to help," his father whispered. "They've come to help us," Kiran repeated, though he wasn't sure he believed it. The ship's hatch opened, and a group of aliens in white suits stepped out. They were tall, their features sharp but not threatening. They didn't carry weapons. They looked almost peaceful. One alien, the tall female with silver skin, stepped forward. She raised her hand in peace, and her voice echoed in Kiran's mind. "We come from the stars. We are here to offer you a way to survive. You have suffered too long. Let us help you." The words sounded kind. They sounded right. For a moment, Kiran almost believed them. But then something strange happened. The Emberborn in the crowd began to stir. Kiran could feel the temperature rising again, just like before. But this time it was different. It wasn't from the heat wave. It was from them. The aliens, who had been standing calmly, suddenly looked around in confusion. Their eyes widened as they noticed the Emberborn. Kiran saw it in their faces. Fear. The tall alien spoke again, but this time there was panic in her voice. "This was not part of the plan. We didn't expect this. The Emberborn were not meant to rise yet. They are dangerous." Kiran felt it. The world around him was shifting. The Emberborn weren't just humans anymore. They were something more, something other, and the aliens had underestimated them. The peaceful alien leader tried to step forward again, but as she did, Kiran's body reacted. The heat inside him exploded. It was like his whole being was charged with energy. The air around him turned red, the temperature rising to dangerous levels. "Kiran, stop!" his father shouted. But Kiran couldn't stop. The heat surged through him like a storm. It wasn't just the sun anymore. It was him. The aliens, now scared, backed away. They raised their hands, trying to calm the crowd. "We did not want this. We only wanted to help," the alien leader said. But it was too late. As the alien leader spoke, Kiran saw the others, Emberborn like him, beginning to react. It wasn't just him. They were all awakening. Their bodies were glowing, radiating heat so powerful that it started to burn the ground beneath them. The alien leader took a step back. "We made a mistake. We came to offer help. But we did not understand what we were dealing with." Then, without warning, the peaceful aliens turned and fled. Their ship's doors slammed shut. and it began to rise into the sky, faster than anything Kieran had ever seen. He reached out, the heat inside him burning so intensely that the air shimmered. But they were already gone. Kieran stood there, breathing hard. The world around him felt wrong. He could hear the whispers of the Emberborn around him. They weren't scared. They weren't angry. They were awakening. The aliens had run. They had come to help, but they had misunderstood. They didn't know what they were dealing with. And now it was too late. The Emberborn were too powerful. Back on the alien ship, Commander Virex watched the scene unfold. He had seen the rise of the Emberborn, but he had never expected this. The humans had done something no one had ever thought possible. They had evolved beyond their limits. "This is beyond anything we planned for," Virex said, his voice filled with frustration. He turned to the rest of the council. They had no choice now. Prepare for Phase Red. The humans are no longer our allies. They are our enemies. The aliens had miscalculated. They thought they could control Earth. But the Emberborn were in control now. And the Earth, burning from the heat of the new age, was about to change forever. The world had changed. The cities were burning, the skies were red, and the oceans had begun to boil in some places. The heatwave had turned into a global disaster. But it was more than just climate. It was an awakening. The Emberborn had risen. Kieran stood on the roof of a broken building, watching the world below. Fires burned in the distance. People were running, some from the heat, some from fear. But the Emberborn, they were calm. Their bodies glowed with inner fire. They did not fear the heat. They had become part of it. Still, Kieran's mind was full of questions. Why was this happening? Why now? And who caused all of it? Far below, in a hidden government bunker, Dr. Lena Rowe stared at an old, dusty file. It was marked, Project Genesis, year 2035. If humanity cannot be saved, create a better one. Her eyes widened as she flipped through the pages. They didn't fear humans, the file read, until we made humans they should fear. It was all a plan. A secret plan started decades ago, after Earth faced its first major climate collapse. The leaders knew Earth might become unlivable, so they created a backup, a new kind of human who could survive anything. The Emberborn. But the project had been buried, hidden, forgotten, until the heat came. Meanwhile, in the sky, the alien fleet had returned. Their ships formed black clouds, blocking out the sun. Commander Virex stood tall at the control panel, his voice cold. This is no longer a mission of control. This is war. Burn the Earth if we must. But the Emberborn cannot be allowed to live. They had come to help, then they had run. But now they were coming back, to destroy what they couldn't understand. Kieran felt them before he saw them. He looked up as the ships began to descend again. But this time he wasn't afraid. He wasn't alone. Across the globe, Emberborn rose from ashes, glowing in orange and gold, standing in silence, waiting. Children, teens, old men and women, each one pulsing with energy. They did not speak. They didn't need to. They felt the heat. They shared it. They were connected now. The first alien beam struck the ground near Kieran. A giant blast tore through the city. The earth shook. Buildings fell. But when the smoke cleared, Kieran was still standing. He raised his hand, and the flames bent around him like armor. He was no longer fighting the heat. He was the heat. With one step forward, the ground beneath him turned to glass. He looked up at the ship, eyes glowing, and spoke for the first time in hours. This planet was never yours. It's ours now. Inside the alien ship, Virex's face turned pale. He's not one of them, he whispered. He's something greater. He turned to flee, but it was too late. Across the sky, waves of heat rose like storms. The Emberborn had joined as one. Together, their power was unstoppable. They weren't just surviving Earth's end. They were rebuilding it. Weeks later, the skies were blue again, but the world was different. Most of the alien ships were gone, melted, burned, or simply vanished. The Emberborn had taken control of the planet's healing. Some humans had stayed. Others had vanished in the chaos. But the Emberborn began to reshape Earth, not with machines, but with will. Forests regrew where cities once stood. Rivers returned. Air became breathable again. But it wasn't perfect. Not yet. In a quiet valley, Kieran sat by a small fire. His eyes still glowed, but softer now. A child sat beside him, another Emberborn, newly awakened. "Is it over?" the child asked. Kieran looked up at the sky. "No," he said. "It's just the beginning."